I'm not good at taking compliments. I just get like flustered. When people sometimes like if I've dressed up nicely, like, oh, you look so nice today. I'm just like, thanks. Finger guns. You too. You look good. My name is Palweet, born and raised in Brampton. I've been living here pretty much my entire life. Most of my family lives here, from my mom's side as well as my dad's side. We moved around within Brampton a lot, basements to eventually our house, and then I got married here and been continuing to live here. I am an educator. Currently, I am tutoring in both French and English. I speak 3 languages, French, English, and Punjabi fluently. I like to think fluently. I actually do really like Brampton, and not just because I spent all the time here. It's a central location. I've always had a great experience in terms of schooling, in terms of the neighborhoods, in terms of safety. And I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of different ideas about, oh, schooling needs to be better. And yeah, not everything is perfect, but I do enjoy living here. When I was younger, I used to think, oh, I want to go to the big city and I want to go to other places. And yeah, I still do want to explore them, but I am more than happy to continue living here in Brampton for the rest of my life. We are lacking when it comes to infrastructure, things that we're missing in terms of entertainment, things that we're missing in terms of education or work opportunities. Even though those things are lacking, I hope that with the new generation, with people coming who live in Brampton wanting to work inside Brampton, I also understand that there are a lot of issues, a lack of funding or just a lack of interest in Brampton itself until obviously election time, people want to get votes from here. People don't necessarily take interest in the city. As a resident of the city, I owe it to the city to make it a better place in whatever way that I can. And the other thing is that it's a multicultural hub. It's a place where a lot of South Asian people live. If I can do something to help those people who come here as immigrants, as my parents once did, people talk about, like the students who come here and they don't really know how to use the facilities or they look down on them. One thing that people who are already living here who are South Asian, what they need to do is make sure that these people have someone guide them, because I feel like a lot of these people are misguided or they get in with the wrong people or they're getting information from people who don't really know what they're doing. We owe it to ourselves to vote people in who are actually going to do something for our city. I say that because oftentimes when they get elected, they don't actually do anything. And they're like, oh, well, I can't because of this. I can't because of that. I understand that, but you should still try to at least advocate for things that are important to you and to the city in general. Living in whatever city you are, you do have a sort of, I guess, civic or civil obligation to try to better where you live. I guess the term Brampton boy means to me somebody who actually like positively identifies as someone who lives in Brampton, like as a Bramptonian. It's more than just being a Bramptonian. It's like, oh, I don't just live here. Like I'm a part of this culture, the culture of being in Brampton. It is a culture, right? People say like Toronto commands or whatever it is, right? Brampton boy is in terms of that. It's like whatever background you come from, right? You have grown up on these specific streets. You have grown up going to these libraries or going to these rec centers or going to these schools. And I would say I identify as a Brampton boy or a Brampton girl, or, I'm going to take it as a gender neutral term. I know the layout of the city. I'm a very multifaceted person when it comes to a lot of things. And people don't necessarily assume that, hey, you are multilingual, or hey, like, I listen to music from like all these different backgrounds, right? So sometimes people have a very narrow, like kind of tunnel vision point of view. People are more than just what their ethnicity or what that one label tells them that they should be. So many people are like, oh, you know that band? You listen to rock music? And I was like, yes, I do. And I was just like, it's not a thing of like, oh, you're like whitewashed or anything like that. I also listen to Punjabi music, but I do also listen to the Beatles. And it's not because, oh, like, I want to, be a part of that culture or whatever. It's because I'm a part of a lot of different cultures. It's not just a dual culture. It's a melange. It's a hybrid. Obviously, like always being bombarded with all the like pop culture and all of that. And you take that in too. That's one thing that people have assumed about me of being, I guess, one dimensional. I think that's an assumption that people make a lot about a lot of people. When I was younger, I used to be like, oh, I'm like this and I'm like that. And I didn't want to be like every other South Asian girl. But now I'm like, I don't care. I don't give a shit if I am like a specific person or not. At the end of it, I am my own person. I like, Ella Fitzgerald. I like, Sherry Mon. I like Panic at the Disco. And I like Queens of the Stone Age and Black Sabbath. And before, when I was younger, I used to not listen to Punjabi music because I was just like, I don't want to be just like every other South Asian kid at my school who like bangs Bengali music. Even though when I was younger, I still listened to it. I just didn't want to identify as someone who listens to it. But then afterwards, I was like, I do enjoy this music. I mean, I go to like hall parties and dance at this music, but like I refuse to listen to it at school on my MP3 player. So I was like, yeah, I need to get over myself. I identify as being part of like the Brampton community as well as being part of the South Asian community. And beyond that, I also identify as being part of like, I guess, the Canadian community as a whole. Being a Canadian is something that there's a lot to that term, and I know there's a lot of things that Canada has done wrong, and like I'm well aware of this nation's history, but I still take pride in being a Canadian. We have a lot of ways to go. There's a lot of things that our government has fucked up. In general, when I think of like Canadians and the people who make up this country, I think of the generations and generations of immigrants who have made up this country. And when I say South Asian community, that's who I'm talking about here. It's not just like the people who were born and raised here. It's the people who came here and made this place their home. Our community here in Brampton, that South Asian community, or within the GTA, is different than the South Asian community in like Vancouver. We do things differently. That's why I identify as this South Asian community. My dad has always been pretty involved in terms of volunteering, being involved in the Gurdwara. I used to be there 4 days a week, sometimes more, for most of my life. Politics has always been something that's interested me as a part of trying to understand, educate myself on Sikh issues as well. Every year we go to the candlelight vigil that's held in November for the survivors and the victims of the 1984 genocide. And that's always been a really big thing for me, having that recognized as a genocide, which is why when they brought that bill up in the Ontario legislature, the very first time that Jagmeet Singh brought it up, I was there at Queen's Park for that. And the second time when it was passed, I was there. I wanted to be there. I wrote letters, I wrote emails to our members of provincial parliament for that. Everyone says like politicians have shady issues and whatever it is. Yeah, I understand all of that. And I know there's a lot of nuances to it. There's a lot of stuff that has to get done behind the scenes that people don't know about. Community involvement has been big throughout my life, and I think it will continue to be as I grow. People will say they don't say I'm from Brampton, they say I'm from Toronto. Why do you feel shame about saying I'm from Brampton, Ontario versus I'm from Toronto, Ontario? And yeah, we do have talent coming out of here. We got talent oozing out of here, right? But we have a big population. We have a big multicultural population, and like it's near Toronto. It's pretty close, but it's not Toronto. Everything major in my life has happened here. I think people who look down on the place that they're from, it's because they didn't get something out of it. And I know there's a lot of room for improvement. And the thing is that hopefully we can start, or we can continue to work towards making those improvements, making it a better city for our youth, for our seniors, for everyone. Like we don't have, I guess, the same industry that other cities do, and we don't have the same infrastructures that other cities do. But I feel like if given a chance, if we have the right people in place to advocate for those changes, this could be an even better place to live. I want to see it grow. I want to see it improve. And I want to see it be the city I know it can be. Bring in more programs for seniors, and especially like South Asian seniors, because that's one thing I hear a lot about. And that's something close to my heart because I have grandparents. I have parents that are aging. The thing is that a lot of them come here from India and they're just like sitting at home with nothing to do, or they're just taking care of their grandkids. And that's fine. Take care of your grandkids, but also take care of yourself. What can we do for them? Like they're stuck at home. There are other resources available, but I feel like they need to be more accessible. They need to talk more about them. This is a city that could be great. And I hope that in the future, people are not ashamed to say that they're from Brampton anymore.